Hello and welcome to our millions of viewers here in Nigeria and of course all around the world. This is Firecrackers, where we discuss issues of national interest. I am Kelly Egiga. Coming up on the program, at least more than 50 students have been declared missing after gunmen attacked a secondary school in Katsina State, a raid that has led to the state government shutting down all boarding schools in that particular state. We also understand there is an ongoing protest in Katsina State as residents are tired of the insecurity in the nation. Plus, we have a bit of a situation in Nigeria as there are talks of a possible second wave of the coronavirus with a surge in recent times, just as the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has also tested positive to COVID-19. Also tonight, in line with the United Nations 16 Days of Activism, Human Rights Day and the International Anti-Corruption Day, we will consider activism and the fight against corruption. We're live in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, as well as in the United Kingdom and Texas in the USA. Welcome to the program. All right, so I understand that we're having a bit of hitches there, but very shortly we'll get some perspective from the United Kingdom as we get to talk to some frontline medical workers about the recent surge in Nigeria, as well as get updates on the COVID-19 vaccine. We understand that it's been a very historic moment for nations around the world, especially the developed countries where they have already begun with vaccinations. But let's take a moment now and just play some visuals for you. We'll come back and get talking. Stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us wherever you're watching from around the world. We are live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's cross over live to the United Kingdom, where I understand my brother and friend is standing by to speak with us, Dr. Essien Ukoribi. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with Galaxy TV. If you can hear me loud and clear. All right. My sincere apologies, Dr. Itowe Kanem. Thank you so much for speaking with us, consultant and family physician. Dr. Essien is also supposed to join us on this particular Skype conversation as we try to fix some things. But thank you so much, Doctor. Let's begin with the issue of vaccination, which we understand in the UK. Over a week ago now, the UK began administration of the vaccines there. What's the very latest with that?
It's been a landmark achievement. The latest is that the vaccination program has started in earnest, particularly in hospitals and specialist centres. However, by the beginning of this week, it will start rolling out across centres in the community for eligible patients. We are currently working our way through the list depending on risk factors, and that's been the determining factor in that respect.
All right. Well, talk us through what it is like for residents in the UK at the moment. It's Christmas, people should be around family and friends and all of that, but there are some sort of restrictions. But what's the atmosphere like in the UK?
I think the atmosphere is really measured, and there's still a big need to be cautious and take all the necessary precautions regarding the virus. Certainly the advent of the vaccine is light at the end of the tunnel. However, we're not dropping our guard, so we're still promotion of social distancing, wearing masks, effective and efficient hand washing, and taking all the necessary precautions. So at the moment, even though things have sort of eased up a little bit, there is still advice to be cautious during the festive period. And indeed, there will still be restrictions for families and loved ones getting together during the Christmas period.
All right, we have a bit of a situation here in Nigeria, which I would like you to share your views and insight with us. It appears there are talks of a possible second wave of the coronavirus. I mean, just last week, a major general or so from the Nigerian army died of COVID-19. The Lagos State governor is on self-isolation because he has tested positive to COVID-19. There have also been a surge in coronavirus cases generally in Nigeria at the moment. Do you have any ideas what could be the reason for the surge?
I think the reality is that there is still a high incidence of infection out there in the world, in the community, and certainly in Nigeria. I think one of the challenges we have in Nigeria would be how much testing is being done to actually ascertain who's positive or who isn't. So until that's established properly, the risk is that people who are often could be asymptomatic carriers, in other words, people who have the virus but don't show any signs of it, would still be the risk of spreading the infection, unfortunately, across the country. So it's no surprise. And I think if you look at what's happening globally, there has been an increase and a spike in cases across the board. America, United Kingdom, and some other parts of the world, there's definitely an increase in that case. So really, it's down to testing and actually identifying the positive cases and taking the necessary precaution in those circumstances.
Dr. Ekanem, stay with us. Let's take a breath. I will come back because I understand Dr. Iselu Koribe is also supposed to join the conversation. Let's see if we can hook up with him, but just stay with us. We'll come back to you and continue this conversation. We'll be right back.
Sure.
You're watching Firecrackers. Let's take a moment. We'll come back and continue that conversation as per the vaccination and the possible second wave of the coronavirus here in Nigeria. We'll be right back in just a moment. Stay with us. Back. This is Firecrackers, and we have Dr. Etiowo Ekanem, consultant and family physician, talking with us via Zoom. He joins us from the United Kingdom. Thank you so much, Doctor. As we stay with the issue of COVID-19 and the talks about a possible second wave of the virus here in Nigeria, what will probably be your advice to the Nigerian government as per tackling this virus head on?
I think my advice to the Nigerian government, we have institutions in place that have successfully delivered vaccination in the past, historically, in the country, as evidenced as the UNICEF program in the 80s. So we can definitely build on this infrastructure. And I think part of it would be the government being involved with the WHO program, trying to source the vaccines to use within the country. But even before the vaccines, it's about public enlightenment about the virus. There is still a lot of doubt and misinformation about the actual presence of the virus in the country, and that sends mixed messages to the population. So where people are throwing caution to the wind and not taking all the necessary precaution, it will undoubtedly lead to a spread of the virus. And I think that's where there is still a lot of room for improvement in that respect. So promoting and also limiting instances where the virus can proliferate. Face masks, hygiene, hand washing, and definitely social distancing. And this can definitely be a challenge going into the festive period. But I think caution must not be thrown to the wind. We're not yet over the virus at the moment.
Well, Doctor, just before I let you go, you caught the virus, but you conquered the virus. Share with us what your experiences are like, after recovering.
Well, I've been very fortunate to have made a full recovery in that respect. So, but it did take some time. So generally having the right approach towards health. So exercise as much as possible, a healthy diet, and just basically taking it easy to build up to that point. It is well documented that there is a condition called long COVID, which is basically people who've had COVID who end up with long-term effects such as shortness of breath and tiredness and weakness, amongst other things. So definitely from my point of view, it's important to allow the body time to recover through healthy lifestyle, and in addition to that, a healthy diet in that respect. And if you have any underlying, this is a general advice really, important to get regular checks with your doctors to detect any issues and make sure you're well protected in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Well, consultant and family physician, Dr. Etiowo Ekanem, would like to thank you most kindly for speaking with Galaxy TV.
You're welcome, thank you, and have a good Christmas too.
All right, so we're speaking with consultant and family physician from the United Kingdom, Dr. Etiowo Ekanem, on vaccination, and talks about a possible second wave of COVID-19 here in Nigeria. We'll take a moment now as we come back and get talking about some other issues, including the very, very latest as per the attacks in Katsina State. Again, just when Mr. President visited on Friday, he's on a one-week private visit, but he was struck with the news of the abduction of over 300 students. Well, we can confirm for you that at the moment the police in Katsina State says about 200 have been found, but 50 more students have been declared missing. We wonder what the fate of those children are, and of course their parents and guardians. That's in a moment, as we also get to talk about issues of activism and the fight against corruption. A step in the right direction, you think? That's in a moment. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The government and public officials have gone completely haywire such that they are not so much bothered about just putting their hands on the public purse. They are so emboldened that they can afford to also buy not just the judges, but also the entire gamut of the administration of criminal justice in the system. That involves lawyers, the bailiff, the government many times creates the enabling environment for that to thrive.
There's corruption in every single region of the world, and every country experiences some aspects of corruption. But it's important that we enthrone good governance, transparency, and openness as a way to leave a better world for future generations.
And the reason for the compendium is not far-fetched. Some group of people have to help us to keep in our foreview, to keep at the front of our mind the kind of atrocities that people are doing to the children, to the men and women and youth of this country through corruption. And when you consider that somebody is probably being probed for 20 billion naira, and then after a year or two we have actually forgotten about it, and when it's mentioned somewhere, now, oh yes, just imagine how many lives have been ruined because such amount of money went in wrong hands.
Collective effort still look like a drop of sanitizer in the dirty ocean of institutionalized corruption in the country. Sadly, the war against corruption is not being won as it should. According to Transparency International 2000 report, Nigeria is now the world's 34th most corrupt nation, dropping 1 point from our 2018 ranking. This cannot be good news for us as Nigerians and for the Muhammadu Buhari government that came to power in 2015 with the mantra of integrity and anti-corruption balance to cleanse the country of high-intensity corruption in the previous government.
You're welcome back. This is Firecrackers. I understand that Inyobong Udo is standing by. He joins us live via Skype, a constitutional lawyer from Calabar, the Cross River State capital. I also understand that Somto Chukwu Ike Geoffrey joins us live as well from Texas in the United States of America. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with Galaxy TV. Yes, let me begin with our legal practitioner in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, just before we are joined by other guests on the show tonight. How are you reacting or responding to the news in Katsina State, where again, just about 2 weeks after we had the attacks in Zabamari, where over 60-something farmers were slaughtered? I mean, of course, we had conflicting reports between the government and international agencies and all of that, but let's even just leave it at that. But how are you responding to this very latest news of abduction of students in that particular boarding school in Katsina State? We understand 50 students are still missing. Maybe I need to go about that again. In Inyobong Udo in Calabar, I said, how are you responding or reacting to the news of the latest attack in Katsina State, the state where Mr. President hails from? How are you responding to the abduction of students from that state? We understand about 50 students are still missing.
Good evening everyone, and thank you for having me. Well, it's been a very terrible situation. I think from the Kaduna State, 133 students are missing. Over 100 students are missing. It's a terrible situation. Just when we had a president, President Muhammadu Buhari, just visiting Katsina. It's a terrible situation. It's just a repeat of the Dapchi and the Chibok incidents. It's a reflection of the state of insecurity in the country. It's a reflection of a state of anarchy. It's a reflection of the state of doom in the country, state of lawlessness. The situation where we are double speaking, where we say the insecurity has been tackled, and yet we are still having losses of lives and properties. Students and children of this country are still getting missing. So I think it's a very sad reflection of the state of insecurity in our country. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, maybe we should also get Somto to just wade in on this. Somto, I know you're far away in Texas, but how are you receiving this news again, barely 2 weeks after the attacks in Borno State, where some 60-something farmers were practically murdered and slaughtered?
Yes, I'm very worried, especially in the United States here. It's very scary. Many of my foreign policy analyst friends have reached out to me who specialize in the African region, and they've spoken about how they're worried. I'm also worried because insecurity drives down investment. FDIs are going to go down. No one wants to be in an unstable economy. Nobody wants to be in a place where there's political instability. So I'm very, very worried. I'm also worried for the students. I'm very, very glad that the governor shut down all boarding schools in the state, because that was good leadership. I was like, yes, this is amazing. Let the students be safe first before we can continue the education. But I just thought that was really good leadership on his part. Yes, I'm worried. Insecurity is very, very scary. It brings a lot of issues. Like Ini was saying, it's very scary, especially when there's double talk, there's double speech. Sometimes you hear when the leaders say, oh, it's been tackled, and like Ini was just saying, and I'm like, no, it's not. I can see the news. I can see what's going on. Those of us in diaspora can see what's going on. We're a little scared. We're a little worried. It's very, very scary to be in this situation.
Well, Somto, I think moving forward now, what do you think the government needs to do differently? I mean,
okay, so I think the government has to have it's heading towards a tough situation. In my own expertise, I'm coming with the mindset of a strong fight and stance against terrorism and insecurity. So that's my mindset. I'm coming in from that American point of view. We're going to end terrorism. We're going to end insecurity. But I haven't been in the region in a while. A lot of diplomats keep talking about having a dialogue, negotiating with them. But I don't, apart from my academic point of view, but my American stance of it is I want to end insecurity right now. Any means necessary, even if it means deforesting a lot of places in the region. I believe in ending it right now, because we have a lot of things to worry about, right? We have to worry about the economy. We have to worry about a lot of things. We're a meat nation, right? And we want FDIs to come in. We want people to come visit. We want people to come hike in Nigeria, go on the historic places, So people have to feel safe to want to come in. If insecurity is the first thing somebody talks to me about each time I'm speaking with them about the fact that I'm Nigerian, or the fact that I'm having like a salon-style conversation with people, it's a little worrying for me, It's a little worrying for my fellow citizens too. It's also worrying because I worry about the economy, I worry about the growth of the nation, and I worry about the citizens too, because no one is safe. Like, I'm scared for people that I haven't met. I'm scared for my family members in the region. I'm scared for people I don't want this to keep going on, That's the way I see it.
All right, Somto, as we begin to probably round off on the issue of this particular adoption now and insecurity in the nation, let's come back now and speak with the legal practitioner in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. In Niobong, you are right here in Nigeria. You have experience and heard talks about insecurity, even in Calabar, where there have been reports about kidnappings. There have been reports about even an assistant commissioner of police who was robbed and murdered.
Killed.
What exactly do you think is the missing link?
Well, thank you so much. I think the missing link is first is that there is a double speak. There is a double speak from our leaders. Every time we hear that security is under control, but in reality, the stark reality is a very terrible situation. I mean, just within the past few days, we had an assistant commissioner of police just murdered just like that in the city of Calabar. Just within the last few days, we've had daylight robbery in the city of Uyo. Just recently now, we've had what has gone on now in Katsina State. It's a terrible, terrible situation, and it goes all around the country. We have the situation where our leaders are saying everything is fine and everything is okay, and yet, every day in the news, there's one problem of security and the other. There is general insecurity in the country. And then they've asked our leaders rejig the security architecture, remove the defense chiefs and all of that, and then bring in fresh blood. Some of them are due to retire. Some of them they've been speaking that they have even overstayed their tenure. Then there should be a total overhaul of the security architecture of the country. But we're not having that. It's just mere propaganda. But then on the streets of Nigeria, people are being killed every day. We have daylight robbery every day. What is going on even in Katsina, it's highly condemnable. It's not something anybody could wish for, any of these people. So it's a general situation. And then I think we are having a missing link in leadership. Our president, and then we need to match our words with action. When the APC was in the opposition, for every single security issue, there was a very serious. We heard so much from the opposition then. Lai Mohammed, the current Commissioner for Information, was always in the news. Now they are in power. They need to be able to match their words with action. We need to see. We need to hear them. We need to be able to. We need to be able to match their words then with their actions. Now, now the APC is in power. And we expect that they should be able to stamp out insecurity from the country. So much in budget has gone into protecting lives and propped into security. So much has gone into the army, to the police. And then we should be able to see these things. We should be able to see them. Unfortunately, it's not so. Just recently, like in our state, we had the Operation Akpaku, the security effort. But this is just being reactive. In Cross River State, we had a launch of a combined security outfit to stamp out insecurity. Why are we being reactive? Why are we waiting for people to be robbed, people to be kidnapped before we do something about security? Why are we waiting? And I think recently in Akwa Ibom State, the governor also did something about security. This was just after lives have been lost, after people have been robbed. We are only being reactive. We're only being reactive instead of being proactive. We have the resources to stamp out insecurity from our country, Nigeria. We have the money. Yes, we have the money. We have the men. We have the machinery. We have the resources. So why are things like this? I think what is missing is the leadership potential. What is missing for me is the leadership potential to be able to coordinate this money, coordinate the resources, and achieve a state where security of lives and property is paramount. So I think for me that is what is missing in this country, Nigeria. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, Yaba, thank you so much. Well, we hope that authorities are watching and listening so that things can possibly get better. Now, stay with us, lady and gentlemen. We will take a moment. When we come back, we will get to continue with our conversation as we look at the 16 days of activism, the International Human Rights Day, as well as the Anti-Corruption Day. That's in a moment. However, we have a video because, all through this week, I just kept on looking at the list of fainters we've had for some time now. The likes of Fayashe have fainted, the likes of Keme and Pondena have fainted. We've had a lot of fainters actually in court. But the latest one is Abdul Rashid Maina, the former pensions boss, He fainted in court early this week. Let's take a moment and see that video. We'll come back and talk about the fight against corruption in Nigeria.
Contact the court security. Let them direct you to the medical section. You can call the judge, doctor to come and.
For staying with us. This is Firecrackers, and we're live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Kelly Giga. Well, I have two guests on the show. We're supposed to be joined by more guests, but via Zoom from Calabar, the Cross River State Capital. A constitutional lawyer, Inyobong Udo, is standing by, and of course from Texas in the USA, Somto Ochukwu, Ike Jofor, an international affairs analyst, also joins us live. Let me begin with you, Somto. When you see the list of fainters and those who have fainted, are we becoming a country of fainters?
That's a very good question, Kelly. Honestly, I love a good political theatrics as just the next policy nerd, but this was just too much. I'm sorry. I just couldn't take it anymore. You were a leader. You should be held accountable for whatever you're put in charge of. So I don't understand this fainting thing. I see it as pure performative politics. That's just the way I see it. There's nothing else to say about it. I am disappointed. I am ashamed because I had friends DMing me on Twitter like, do you see this? Do you see what's going on? I'm like, yes, I do. I do see it, you know. It was a little embarrassing. I feel like these leaders need to be accountable. They need to be held accountable. Yes, maybe he fainted because he has health issues. I mean, we're in a pandemic. If you have health issues, wear a mask. But that was just pure political theatrics. That was performative. It wasn't, because in the end, that's what happened. The questioning did not continue, right? It stopped. That was just the easy way out, as far as I'm concerned. That was pure political theatrics. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Somto, let me stay with you, Somto. What does this kind of acts? What does it mean for people like you, blacks or Nigerians outside the country? I mean, does it damage the image of the country you represent?
So it's very difficult for us, but then again, Nigerians in diaspora are one of the second highest achieving immigrant population, right? Second to the Indians. So it balances it. While for us, it's very, very difficult because we have to work twice as hard to prove ourselves. Because when an average white person or an average American or an average Westerner sees us, they're like, oh, the Nigerian prince scammer. Oh, the Nigerians are fake all the time when they're asking them questions. Oh, the Nigerians to do this, right? But then again, we try to work hard here, to make sure that we're achieving as much as we can, and we do prove ourselves, and that helps with removing all the issues that we have. Because sometimes I don't need to, for instance, for myself, I don't need to worry about what people say because I'm amazing. I know that I have several degrees to my belt. I'm an expert on what I do. So people already know that, they already know to respect me. Yes, I'm Nigerian. Yes, things do go on, but they already know that this is not someone you can mess with. She is Nigerian. She does know her stuff. That type of situation. So it does even itself out in a way. But there's still that issue of, oh, Nigerians are, they do the scamming, or they paint a lot, or they do all these performative things. But yes, it is still there. But we work very hard to cover up that image. I'll say it like that.
All right. Let's take this conversation now back to Inyewong, legal practitioner standing by in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. Inyewong, how would you respond to this? I'm looking for the word to describe this, but I mean, you're a constitutional lawyer. I believe that you've seen some of this kind of drama. But how would you react and respond to this latest trend of fainting? I mean, it's becoming a norm here in Nigeria, where when you are made to stand trial, one of the ways out is to faint or leave for medical treatment and all of that.
Well, thank you so much. Mr. Maina, for me, does not deserve any sympathy of any sort. This is because he had been granted bail by the court, and rather than stand his bail, he jumped bail, and his bail had to be revoked. He was only arrested in Niger Republic and brought back to the country. He doesn't deserve any sympathy because he had been given some consideration by the court, but he didn't reciprocate that gesture. And for me, of course, for me, if I were the judge, I would just remand him in custody and continue with trial. There's a room now for trial in absentia. He can remain in custody while trial goes on in court, while he continues to receive medical treatment. I think for me, what the lesson there is that there is always a day of recompense for every of our actions. The man has been accused of a criminal offense, and he should be able to stand his trial and defend himself. He had earlier complained of being unable of health reasons and all of that. He was granted bail, and then he jumped bail. He should be remanded in custody until the end of his trial. So there is room for trial in absentia, where he doesn't have to be in court. He can be in the hospital, and his trial continues and is concluded. So for me, I think the judge has been firm. To ensure that the trial goes on. And that speaks for other instances of corruption trials where people have had to faint and all of that. It's like Somto said, it's a political theatrics, yes. It's a drama. We had that from Ponde, we've had that from many other political actors. And it's a lesson for our political leaders that there is a day of recompense, there will be a day of judgment. There will be a day where their actions will be reviewed, and if they have run foul of what they are supposed to do, then they will definitely give account, and then they will definitely stand trial. So I think kudos now for the corruption fight. But of course, there are many other areas that we are not doing well. But I would say kudos to the corruption fight. Those who have a case to answer should be made to answer for their crimes. So that's what I would say with the ending. Yes, sir.
All right, let's take another break. We'll come back and begin to wind down on the show as we, delve and look at the issue of activism and human rights in Nigeria. That's in a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Also note that the committee haven't gone around the commands under a very difficult terrain. So much anomalies were discovered that if not tackled headlong, the Nigerian ports are at the risk of imminent and total collapse. Aware that businesses, commuters, and residents along these access routes see hell on a daily basis as they are subjected to nuisance, pollution, and emission to the environment. Also aware that due to the challenges of inaccessibility of the ports, it takes an average of 60 days to do a turnaround of a container, whereas should there be an easy access to the port, the turnaround within Lagos will not be more than 5 days. The implication to us is that the country is losing an average of 5 times the revenue it would have made if the access routes were good.
Well, thanks for staying with us. We are winding down now on the show, but I understand Dr. Hussein Okorigbe joins us live from Birmingham, the United Kingdom. Thank you so much, Dr. Hussein, for joining us. Well, we've had a legal practitioner in Nyebong Udo from Calabar, the Cross River State Capital. We also have Sumtu Ochuku IK Ejiofor from Texas. In the USA. Well, Dr. Hussein, since you're just joining us, let's begin with you. We're supposed to talk with you about issues about COVID-19 and vaccinations and all of that, but you are also a leadership coach. You're into leadership as well. I mean, you have a book on leadership, but let's get your views about this recent development in Nigeria where we have a club of fainters. And the latest is Abdurrashid Maina, who fainted in court early last week. How are you responding to this latest development and trendy news of fainters in Nigeria, especially when they are made to stand trial in court?
Rather an unfortunate situation that our Nigerian leaders are unable to take responsibility for their action. Leadership is all about taking responsibility, and we have seen loads of our leaders, acting very inappropriately as regarding answering to their actions and facing panels and court sessions when they are called to order. So the latest one that we have seen is absolutely disgraceful, just to say the least. We've seen this over and over again, but then that tells us how slow our judicial system is. That tells us how slow our whole policing system is, because people now know that if they appear in court and they slump, their cases will be pushed, many weeks afterwards, and it just delays the whole thing. And in a short while, we will hear nothing about the story. We all know about the NDDC case and the fainter that we had at that time, and today nobody has heard anything about that case anymore. So it's shameful, to say the least, that Nigerian leaders are not setting the right examples for those who are coming after them, and they cannot take responsibility for their actions.
All right, Dr. Hussein, let's also get your views about the latest attack in Katsina State. I'm sure you're in the know about the fact that it appears 50 students have been declared missing. I mean, what do you think might be going through the minds of the parents and guardians of these children, especially in a season where they should be very, very close to their children?
I must say, Kelly, that I really sympathize with the parents and with the guardians of those students that have been abducted or that have been declared missing in Katsina State. And again, this is a reflection of the level of our security system in Nigeria. Just to say the least, Kelly, a lot of things, unfortunately, when we look back home at Nigeria, they are not falling into place. They don't give us joy, looking back home, and they don't make us want to associate with Nigeria or come back to Nigeria. So the security system, has a lot of questions to answer as regards to why, students will be abducted, and after many days, we can't get any concrete information as to their whereabouts. We've seen we've heard of other cases, of kidnaps across the country going on day after day, and it doesn't seem like the government or the security forces are making a headway. In my opinion, the security chiefs should be called to book, and if they are unable to provide answers and solutions, then they don't deserve to remain as our security chiefs.
All right, as we begin to round off our conversation now, gentlemen, and the lady with us, Somto, let's turn to the issue of human rights. I mean, earlier last week, we had the International Human Rights Day. When you look at Nigeria, and do you think that a lot needs to be done in terms of fighting for our rights in this country? Because there have been issues of some accounts frozen, there have been issues of travel ban instituted on some Nigerians.
Yes, absolutely. Better things have to be done. I believe that, well, this is my take on the situation. I am happy that there are people, independent bodies, that can report things going on, right? So you have the Human Rights Watch, you have the UNHCR, and everyone is watching. Everyone over the world is watching. So that's another good component of it. We have social media, we have instant access to information. So that's one part. I'm relieved that we can see what's going on right now in comparison to the 60s or the 80s, where the news crews had to go all the way to Nigeria. But now we can get information instantaneously, and it's really good. That being said, yes, a lot more needs to be done. I was taken aback when there were travel bans on the protesters, because Nigeria is part of one of the 4 Geneva Conventions, right, about the human rights. We're a member of the UN, and we're also a member of the AU. So it was a lot of things that happened, especially with the NSAS movement and the killings that went out. It was really, really, really bad, and I was so sad. I couldn't sleep for up to 2 weeks, because you can't witness such a thing and not feel something, So yes, absolutely, right. A lot needs to be done about it. And that being said, an independent body, maybe like not really a non-profit, but an independent body that's independent from all the government branches, needs to be like there is the commission of sorts, but I need that commission to be given more power, more funding, so that the lawyers that fight for people's human rights can be proud and do their job and get things done and push information out there, because people need to know what their rights are. People need to know that in Nigeria you do have human rights. You have rights to protest, you have rights to do a lot of things. The 1999 Constitution, although it has issues, but you do have rights to a lot of things, So I would like more information to be put out there. I would like more campaigns about human rights, or what they know, what you are entitled to as a Nigerian citizen, and things like that need to be put out there. And I believe it's doable. I believe with the use of social media, media, print, and radio.
Okay, so because we are pressed for time, let's see if we can get other guests to contribute. Let's go to Calabar, where Nyobong is standing by. Nyobong, you're also a human rights lawyer. Share with us your experiences, in terms of fighting some sort of injustices. I know that you have been very concerned about some people who have been wrongly put in prisons and all of that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show once again. In Nigeria, we don't have a lot of respect for human rights. We have a lot of human rights instruments, from the 1999 Constitution to the Geneva Convention, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and all of that. Nigeria has been signatories to all of these instruments. Nigeria has, a constitution that has respect for human rights. However, in practice, we have not been a country that has respect for human rights. We have an active pro bono practice where we have to look at those who have been in prison for upwards of 4 or 5 years, and they've not been charged to a court of competent jurisdiction. And then, of course, where we had to put up a lot of fight to see how we can fight for their release and from detention. But recently we've had incidences of the NSAS protests, blocking accounts of protesters and all of that. I think we need to end this double speak in Nigeria. Nigeria needs to respect the rights of our citizens. And then I think it also goes to leadership. It also goes to leadership too. Leadership has to show a lot of respect for the fundamental rights of Nigerians. And I think we need to obey and respect our human rights so that for the betterment of the country. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
All right, because we are rounding off now. What are your final words in here? Well, let's begin with you. What are your final words in 30 seconds?
Okay. Well, my final words are that we need to ensure the security of lives and property, especially in this Yuletide season, and then we need to have respect for human rights and of our citizens. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Okay. So, Dr. Isienu Ukoroibi in the United Kingdom, what are your final words as we look at the ways forward?
Well, my final words are to Nigerians, basically. You know, this is the season where the Nigerian youth should be awake to their rights and to fight for their rights, whatever it takes. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Isienu, thank you so much. Somto in Texas, in the USA, your final words to the Nigerian government on the ways forward?
I would prefer to talk to the Nigerian people. I want to say, keep the leaders accountable, stay safe during this Christmas period, wear your mask, we're still in the pandemic. Thank you so much for having me. Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas to you as well. Lady and gentlemen, Somto Ochukwu Ike Jofor from Texas in the USA, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We also had from the United Kingdom, Dr. Isienu Ukoroibi. He's also a leadership coach. Hopefully we'll get to talk about his book. He's also an author of a particular book on leadership. We'll get to talk more about that book subsequently on the show. And of course, from Calabar, the Cross River State capital, legal practitioner, constitutional lawyer, human rights lawyer, my brother and friend Inyobong Udo. I would like to thank you so much for joining us tonight on the program. And that does it for us on this edition of Firecrackers. For our viewers around the world, thank you so much. The show returns next week Sunday as we keep talking about issues concerning Nigeria and issues of national interest. My name is Kelly Egiga. Good evening.